Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Just Fun Stuff. It's a beautiful day on Funland, and we haven't done any building in a while, so I thought it would be fun to use some of the items we already had and create a fun little area. So I decided today we were gonna do like an abandoned farm, something that looks like everybody just kind of picked up and left and went on with their lives. So that is what we're working on today, and I cannot wait to get started. So I had some existing cliffside from previous builds, decided to just build off that. I wanted to start with the actual barn because I thought that's the part I'm gonna have the most trouble with, because I wanted to make it a little bit different than I've done in the past. I wanted to use a lot of standees. I didn't want a lot of the light from the storefront because, again, this is like a forgotten farm. It's like people just up and walked away, and so I didn't want a ton of lights, and I wanted to use some cool patterns on some simple panels and make it really barn-like. So that's what we're working on, creating the barn. Here we are, putting up the sides. I wanted to give it some depth and, again, try something different with the items we already have while keeping the lighting to a minimum, because they've obviously walked away from this farm. So there's a lot of trial and error in the top of the farm with how to build stuff. I wanted to use a record box at one point because I kind of, if you've seen on old farms, I don't know what it's called. I think it's a weather vane, I think it's called, and it has kind of like the rooster or like the directions on it, like northeast, south, west, if I could get the words out. Say, there's my little record box. But I just wanted a highest point, and then I wanted to put a cute little owl like sitting on top of the barn. But in theory, it was great. Took all the time to cut away everything, put everything back, get everything built. Again, in theory, awesome. But Poppy goes down and checks it out after we have created this whole beautiful top. And as you can see, you can't. So, the next move was to put up a little extra cliffside. Go up, take down the record box, take down our owl, and just put up the owl. So like the owl sitting on top of the abandoned barn. It's still not as focal as I was hoping for, but you can see it a little bit better than as if it was hidden behind the record box. So I do like the idea of the owl sitting on top, and you can see the barn is now coming together. It looks really cute. Now just cutting back some of the excess. I was gonna push back the storefronts that are in the front to kind of get everything flush, but I couldn't because of the way the cliffside was, so I just pulled the simple panels forward, and it gives the same look. It doesn't take away from anything, so I was super happy with the way that the barn or farm turned out. I guess that's the barn portion. Putting up another cliffside because obviously we need a farmhouse. Again, I'm just using a ton of storefronts, but in this case for the house, it's an abandoned house. So I didn't want them facing forward. I didn't want any additional light. I'm using broken windows, obviously. I was gonna put barrels in front to hide the windows, and then I thought to myself, that's just silly because these storefronts, that if we put them up in the front, it's gonna hide the second level of windows, so it's gonna look like there's only one level at the top. And this is not a fancy farmhouse. This is like a wartime farmhousing. It's just kind of old. It's very weathered, so I went with the lightest brown possible for the storefronts. I didn't even mind that the posters were all over the back. Obviously, a lot of it's going to be covered in the panels, which is great, but I didn't mind it there because I almost feel like the posters add to the whole abandoned look. Like, it would be like unlivable or whatever you call that, where you can't be in there and it's abandoned and dilapidated. And that's what I was going for. Next, paths. The bane of my existence, yet so necessary for so many builds. I just kept the path pretty simple because, again, I just wanted it to look like dirt on the ground because this whole area has been abandoned. Then I found this custom and I was so excited for it because, I mean, we're doing an abandoned farm. So obviously it's going to be trashed a little bit. It's going to be neglected and forgotten. And to find a custom for the fence that matches the barbed wire fence on the ground so it looks like it is broken and fallen apart, absolutely amazing. Of course, that will be included in the description, so if anybody wants to use it. I did just find it on Pinterest out of, like, it was just a lucky find, and I was so excited to find it because it was so cute and it went so well with this particular build. But now you're starting to see the actual farm come together. You can see that it's pretty abandoned, it's broken, it's run down. Now putting in a shed, I had a bunch of the retro transportation stations or centers, stops is the word I'm looking for, and they were already rusty, so I threw them in. I had a bunch of cactus. This is just a build that was fun. It's kind of going with our abandoned theme because we did the abandoned town, I believe, was our last build. But I wanted to use items I already had. I didn't want to spend any more bells. I just wanted to take what we had and make something cool. So again, repurposing, had cactuses, had pretty much everything. Throwing in some vintage stools because, again, my whole idea with this one is I wanted to look like whoever owned this farm just got up and walked away. Like it was lived in, it was working, and then they just got up and walked away. So throwing down some wheat fields all over the place. I didn't want there to be any like solid fields anywhere because, again, it's unkempt and untaken care of, so kind of falling apart. Throwing in some oil barrels, creating the area. I wanted to create a little like duck pond that you would see by a little farm. So just elongating our little river entrance, pushing 4 stitches around, and I felt bad about it, but you know, there's always that one villager when you're trying to create something that's kind of in the way. So now adding our windmill that's all rusty and again not taken care of, adding the wagon because we had it and I haven't used any really in any builds lately, so I wanted to add some, putting the water pump by our little duck pond, adding some more of the trees, of course, lifeless. Nobody's there taking care of this ground. It's all dry and yucky. Giant vines, haven't used them in forever, had them in my inventory, and I don't know, it doesn't matter what you're making, they look good. They look cute everywhere. The yacht served no purpose other than I thought, we're by the water. I had the yacht, it was expensive, and it was already customized to look broken, so threw that in. Somebody forgot a bike. I put the clothesline in because, again, going for that, the family just picked up and walked away look, and I thought it was cute. Adding a torii just as like an entrance way to the barn, because you know how you go to some of those big farms and they have the big name above when you walk in. Kind of going for that idea, but I did it backwards so that you couldn't see any nameplate on it because, again, it would be worn off. Everything's all forgotten and left alone. Adding some flowers, some mum cushions, some weeds. Again, it's very forgotten. But you can see how well the area came together. I do have a couple tanks that I wanted to add to this build as well, but I forgot to customize them rust colored and they were white, so I will probably add them at some point, and you'll see that when I update the dream address. But as you can see, our little owl at the top of the barn is one of my favorite features, but it is a forgotten farm and it turned out really well. I'm really happy with the way this build turned out. If you like it, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And if you've already subscribed, thank you so much. You're truly appreciated. And we are going to be back with more Animal Crossing videos.